Great to see you, John.
You too.
Back here in Monterey. Now, you're the commercial officer for the U.S. Commerce Department based here in Monterey. Been here about 2.5 years, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your responsibilities.
My responsibilities are basically twofold. One is to promote U.S. exports to Mexico, and number two is to promote Mexican investment into the U.S.
Okay, now tell me, when U.S. companies come to look at Monterey and Nuevo León for investment, what are some of the attractions? What are some of the things that might be obstacles for them?
Well, the attraction is they're right next door to the world's largest consumer market. That's a 2-hour car ride from here to the border. It's also attractive by the quality of labor. There's been no work stoppages for 15 years here, and the quality of the labor. They're very educated. Nuevo León graduates about 5,000 engineering students a year. So you're getting close access to a big market, quality infrastructure, quality labor.
Help me understand then, if you could identify maybe the top 3 or 4 obstacles that come up, what are they actually?
Well, there's not many. We have a free trade agreement with Mexico, so there's no tariffs on most goods coming here. There's really not very many barriers to entry. It's a question that, fortunately, here in Mexico, I don't have to deal with a whole lot.
So let's talk about the thing that I'm sure a lot of your investor folks have talked about. In fact, you're leading a delegation of U.S. companies, you said, in a couple weeks with the new Commerce Secretary.
Correct. Some
very big names in the technology industry are going to spend time in Monterey and Mexico City.
Yes.
And I can guarantee you that question of security is going to come up. How do you deal with that question? How do you we get that question a lot too, and we try very hard to put it all in context.
Right. If you look at it in context, Mexico and Monterey actually has one of the lowest crime rates in Latin America. The advice that I give people is use common sense like you would at home in Columbus, Ohio, or Baltimore, Maryland, or Denver, Colorado. There's absolutely no evidence that I've seen that U.S. business people, U.S. tourists, any foreigners are being targeted.
Has the issue of security been overblown? Have we overdone it in the United States?
The sad thing is bad news sells. But right now, I think the opportunities in Mexico are becoming so great that the narrative is changing. When I first got here, I received questions about security. Now I get no questions about security. It's all about the opportunities that the market provides to U.S. companies.
We all know a lot about the fact that there's been a lot of industrial focus with Mexico and the United States in terms of trade, but I think it's our belief that we're now seeing a new era based on more knowledge-type economy jobs. Are you seeing that as you host these U.S. companies?
Mexico has a distinct advantage over lots of Latin American countries where they're able not only to export raw materials, but they're able to export manufacturing goods. And the manufacturing economy and the sophistication of the products that they're able to manufacture is a huge competitive advantage for the country.
Interesting. Now, you also mentioned that you're trying to induce Mexican companies to set up shop in the United States.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that. Any wins you've been participating in? What kinds of industries?
Mostly the industries that are investing in the U.S. are food, media are actually the two. A little bit of oil and gas, believe it or not. But for the U.S., for us, we finally have learned that promoting investment in the U.S. means jobs for American workers. When I was much younger, it was kind of not
taboo.
Talked about.
Right.
Taboo is right, exactly. People were scared when the Japanese bought something, but now it's a strategic priority of the government because it creates jobs, and the U.S. is such a great market to invest in.
So another big thing that we're hearing a lot about, we've been here now in Mexico City for a week, obviously a slew of reforms, really impressive if we see the complete slate passed as proposed. But how does this influence that investor coming from outside, the U.S. investor?
Well, particularly in the oil and gas industry, investment from the foreigners was prohibited until December. And so it's a whole new world now, not only in the oil and gas energy market, but in telecommunications, for example, financial reform. A lot of these markets were closed to competition. And so, with 110 million people in a country right next to the United States, investors are very, very interested in the opportunities that are coming shortly because of the reforms passed late last year.
Interesting. Would you characterize what you're experiencing here in Nuevo León as representative of other parts of Mexico, or how significantly different are we talking in other states?
Each state's have their strengths. Nuevo León's it's very close to the U.S. It's a border state. So the access to the U.S., 65% of the trade in products between the U.S. and Mexico actually crosses through Nuevo León. So we're sort of a logistics hub as well as a manufacturing hub. And other parts of Mexico also have still skilled labor. Querétaro, for example, has a burgeoning aerospace industry where lots of foreign companies are investing in there. So there's lots of different states with lots of different opportunities. Aguascalientes, Nissan, for example, just opened a manufacturing plant, just invested $1 billion. Audi in Puebla. So there's many opportunities in different parts of the countries.
Interesting.
And each state has its own competitive advantages.
So when you welcome a technology-oriented company, what sort of perspective are you trying to provide to them?
Hey, look, Mexico is open for investment. It's open for trade. We're at the 20th anniversary of the Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, celebrating this month. Trade has blossomed. It's over $1 billion a day. So if you're an IT company looking to sell to the government, looking to sell this hospital right here behind us, there's huge opportunities in medical IT, telecom, and Mexicans have an affinity for U.S. products. We're well thought of here, and our brand is very strong here in Mexico.
Interesting. So that takeaway here, open for business. The other thing I think is very, very interesting to all of us too is what's it like? You've been here living 2.5 years now in the city of Monterey.
Yeah.
Tell us what the lifestyle is like.
We love it here. We go to the movies. We sit out in the sidewalk cafes right down the street here. We live our life just like we do at home. It's a beautiful place with the mountains here. The weather is gorgeous. I can't say I do anything differently here in Monterey than I did back home in Virginia. It's a wonderful place.
Fantastic. Well, always great to see you, John.
You too.
Best of luck.
Thanks.